This is Swiss and Chips, your British guide to Switzerland. Hello and welcome to Swiss and Chips. I'm Jo Fay.
And I'm Simon Tried.
So in this episode, we're going to be talking about the 4 languages that they have in Switzerland.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Exactly. But before we get to that, we want to say hello to everybody who came to our meetup last week.
Woo!
Yeah, it was great.
So yeah, that was really nice. It was small, but really nice, has to be said. And a big thank you to everyone who came, and I had a great time.
Yeah, we basically asked in our Facebook group, Switzerland for English Speakers, if you want to check it out, if anyone wanted to meet, and then we had a little get-together. It was cool. I think we'll do it again.
Yeah, the group is really developing super nicely because people are talking to each other and helping each other. And yeah, it was really nice to see all these people interacting. And then we thought, let's meet them.
Yeah, put some faces to names.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So
also from the group, by the way, we had feedback to our last episode.
Mm-hmm.
The episode was...
I think it was about how to make friends in Switzerland.
Exactly. And Coco, she was also at a meeting. Not a meeting.
Our meetup. She was at our meetup.
Okay, meetup, yeah. Mm-hmm. So special hello from us.
Hello.
She said... How to make friends in Switzerland. She wrote in our Facebook group, sorry, forgot to make suggestions on that, but of course, dogs. That will always be the icebreaker and show communality.
Not sure, but I'll go with it.
Okay. I mean, she means probably, that you are together.
Dogs are a great way to break the ice, basically.
Exactly.
And I would agree with that as a person who doesn't have a dog.
Yeah.
Because I often want to stroke other people's dogs and then you can't help but, get chatting.
And she says, since I have 2 dogs, I now made 2 friends. So that's
awesome.
Great for her. And I think it's a great advice as well. If you have dogs, I think you are one step ahead.
Totally. But don't forget, a dog is not just for Christmas.
Exactly.
Good. So... we had a question, actually, that came in via our website and also went onto our Facebook group.
Yeah, from Ted Greenwood. It's quite interesting. So he must be extremely, motivated to come to Switzerland because it came through our website. He recorded an audio file for us. That was really nice. What you can do as well, just, record an audio on your phone and then send it to us via email, for example, or you go on our website, swissandchips.com, and then you will see there is a little button.
There's a button you can just click and record it straight away, which is really cool for us to hear.
That's cool. So I think just let's play it and hear what his question is.
Hello, I am currently living in Canada and wanted to get a working holiday visa to go to Switzerland to meet up with my friend. I was just wondering how hard it is to get a job there. Basically, what I'm looking for, it kind of is telling me that I have to apply for the job first, and then they have to ask me to come to the country. But I have a friend over there right now that's just au pairing, and I'm just wondering if you could just go there with a working holiday visa and just find a job, if that's at all possible. Just what the steps are, basically. Any kind of information would be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much.
So that was Ted, who left us a voice message on our website, and he also posted in our Facebook group as well. And basically, he's a Canadian who's trying to get a work visa in Switzerland, and he was wondering if anybody had any advice before trying to apply or any help on finding jobs. And he said he heard it's a little bit different from other working holiday visas.
Yeah, and the thing is, as I understood, he comes with a friend. So his friend already has a job. And he wants to move to Switzerland with him and then in Switzerland look for a job. So I think that's quite an interesting case. And he had lots of replies from our users there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, a couple of people were asking, A, does he speak a Swiss language? He does, French. So that's going to be extremely helpful in trying to get a job here. B, what kind of experience he has, what kind of field he works in.
Yeah, what kind of job he wants to apply. And also, I think what's important, what education you have, because the higher the education, the bigger the chance that you will find a job.
Mm-hmm. And also, somebody wrote, there are some seasonal jobs available in hospitality in the ski areas, but it's only a short season. And this is quite an interesting thing. because you can come and do a ski season basically. So
Yeah,
it's,
a winter or summer season, yeah.
and then you're coming just to work for a few months basically.
Yeah, when it's high tourism season and you might work as a skiing teacher or in a restaurant or something
Or in a
like
bar
that.
or something.
But-
and then the employers can basically apply for short-term visas for these people when it's quite well established.
Exactly, but as he is not in the EU, it's a little bit more complicated, isn't it?
Exactly. Basically, there's a kind of hierarchy of how easy it is to get a job. And a recent development is that employers have to try and offer their jobs to people who are already here, whether it's the Swiss or people who are already in the area, and that's by advertising their jobs locally. Then you've got the kind of next rank down, and that's people coming from EU countries who have it sort of slightly easier to try and find a job here at the moment.
Yes.
And then you've got the kind of next rank down, which is people from outside EU, and I also think EFTA countries. And it's even harder for them to get a job.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
That's
yeah.
the kind of hierarchy of nationalities and trying to get a job in Switzerland.
Exactly.
And the employer has to prove, for example, if they wanted to employ someone from a country that's not in the EU, they'd have to prove that they couldn't find the person to suit this job who wasn't Swiss and wasn't from an EU country.
Exactly. I think we made one episode who is about how to find a job in Switzerland. There we also touched a bit this topic.
Yeah.
And I think we can link it in this episode. And also one user gave him the link ch.ch. I think that's also a good URL to go to. And admin.ch is also a very good URL where you always can have a look how...
It's all about kind of how things work in Switzerland, basically.
Yeah, exactly, yes. And also the visa stuff and everything is there. But I think in general, it's so difficult if you're a non-EU person, then it's quite complicated. So I would recommend just give a call to the Swiss embassy where you are living at the moment. So Ted, I think if I were you, just write an email or give a call to the Swiss embassy in Canada and they will help you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
But it's, yeah, as it's such a complicated topic, we might make a separate episode once only about that, because also I would need to look it up how in detail everything works.
Yeah, true. It's so different from country to country.
Yeah.
So this week we went to see the light show at the Federal Palace in Bern. And this is something that happens every autumn in Bern. And they make a giant projection, basically, onto the front of the Federal Palace or the Bundeshaus. Sometimes they tell a bit of a story.
Yeah, the light show at the Bundeshaus is every year, and it's always for like 3 weeks or something during November before they set up a ice skating rink on the Bundesplatz, which is really exciting, I think. And the light show is projecting film or something. What is it exactly? A short film usually. And you can watch for free. You just go to the Bundesplatz, watch at the Bundeshaus, and get inspired.
Yeah, exactly.
And this year's topic is Le Petit Prince.
Roughly translated as The Little Prince, which brings me to my next point. This year...
I would have said The Small Prince, but okay. Then it's
So,
a little good
the
to
big
know.
surprise, I've been
Der
twice.
kleine Prinz übrigens. By the way, in German.
Exactly. So the light show, which happens every year, I've been 2 times before and have pretty much been able to understand it because, you know, the point of a light show is you go there to look at the lights. However, this year was a big surprise for both of us.
Can you maybe explain a little bit more what the light show is, or is that totally clear to everyone? Because that was quite exciting for Swiss people, I think.
Well, I don't know. I can only speak for myself. But it's just a big projection of lights
Exactly, yeah, but
onto
with
something like a...
music and somebody talking, and it's on the whole Bundeshaus, so it's really extremely, the animation, it's the light projects exactly at the Bundeshaus. For example, there is also then the Bundeshaus in different colors and so on.
Yeah,
and then
the sort of unusual
it
thing about this is
cracks
that...
and moves.
Yeah,
and then
they make use of the building behind.
Exactly,
Which is maybe a little bit different.
So, like, for example, the Small Prince, what did you say?
The Little Prince.
The Little Prince. He climbs then up to the top of the Bundeshaus. So
Yeah.
it's like climbing along the the stones and so on, the
and
bricks.
the different columns and stuff, and he sits on the windowsills and things like that.
Exactly, yeah.
So they kind of play with the structure of the building and the lights.
Yeah,
and
I
the
think it's
patterns.
a must-see if you are in Switzerland around Bern. Then you should go and see it at least once.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So the surprise this year for us, although maybe we would have known this if we had read more about it before we went, was that they were telling this story, but they were telling it in French. So there wasn't constant speaking, but at some points during the light projection, somebody speaks.
Exactly, yeah.
And it was en français.
Yeah.
Which was surprising for me because I thought, well, I can't speak French. And I hadn't really expected that, and I didn't really understand what was going on. And I thought, God, am I the only person standing here who doesn't understand this now? And I turned around to you and the other people we were with, and I also saw some somewhat confused faces.
Well,
which led me to my question,
Yes.
which was, as when something is put on in Switzerland, and we're pretty much in the middle of the country here, you could maybe get by with French, but it's more often people are speaking German.
True.
Is the expectation that you can speak more than one national language? Is there an expectation they can put on a light show, do it in French, and that'll be fine for everyone?
Well, first of all, there are two kinds of confused faces. I think in our spot where we were, it was quite far behind, so we couldn't really hear as well what they were talking about.
True.
And that was the one kind, and the other who didn't understand French at all. So mine was a bit of both. So I would say in Switzerland, you have to learn a second national language at school. And so everyone basically knows at least the basics of one second language. So, but not everyone speaks fluently a second language. Like me, for example, French, so la la.
Oui.
So
See what
la
you
la.
did there.
Not oh la la, but so la la.
Good.
Anyway, so, but it also very much depends where you live and work. For example, when you live and work in a city where you speak two languages, for example, Biel,
Bien.
Bien,
Biel, otherwise known as Biel Bien.
or Fribourg,
Freiburg.
Fribourg,
Oh, right, that too.
then you would speak very often two languages at work as well. Also depends where you work in Bern, for example. If you work like at the embassy, then you might work French very often.
So we should say that the country is basically divided by language barriers. And it's not that these bilingual towns are scattered all over the country. It's that we have the kind of French side with Geneva and Lausanne. We have the Swiss-German side with Zurich in it. We've got the Italian part of Ticino. We have the Romansh corner.
Yes.
And then where these places meet in the middle, you'll get these bilingual towns or cities where people
Yes.
speak both languages.
You showed it very nicely to me now. I'm not sure if people can understand.
You
But
may need a
basically-
map.
Basically, you can say in the northeast is German, in the west is French, in the southeast is Italian, and in the east and a little bit, all over the place in the east is on small spots is Romansh. So, and German is most often spoken, like 60% roughly, French is maybe 20%, and Italian 10%, and Romansh basically less than 1%. And English, for example, I saw is around 5%, so that's also
Great.
more than Romansh, at least. Not bad, and half of the Italian, you can say, or almost as much as Italian is spoken. So, and like you said, where these parts meet, the cities are often bilingual.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's basically it. And when you work, usually you only have to speak one language. But then in these borders, you speak maybe two quite often, but one is usually enough. And almost everywhere you can speak English as well, at work at least, I would say, on many places.
So do you think it is a sort of reasonable expectation to put something on in the capital and expect that people will understand something in French, given that the majority of the population don't speak it as their first language? What do you think about that? Because I thought it was unusual, but then I thought, well, maybe that's just how it is in Switzerland.
Both. It was unusual, but I must say I haven't read about it, but I assume that they also want to set a sign that we are not only German. We are not only German speaking. We are French, Italian, and Romansh. So Bern is the capital, and we speak German there, but as a capital, it also represents whole Switzerland. So I think it's very good that it's French as well, because that makes also aware of our culture.
Okay. So
I see your disappointed face. You're just
Boo. No, that is nice because, I guess the French part is small, but it doesn't mean that they're any less important, of course. So why shouldn't the light show be in French?
Exactly. That's it. I mean, the Bundesplatz, there is the fountains with the holes, and each fountain has represents one canton. And so I think that's the same thing. There you have each canton and all languages.
Yeah.
I think it's normal.
And I think I've said this before, but before I moved here, I imagined that everybody in the country would be speaking all 4 languages, just sort of whenever they felt like it, basically. Obviously, it's not like that.
Yeah, definitely not. No, most speak one and a half, I would say.
Yeah. And how much do the other languages come into your daily life? And do you think that's pretty average?
My daily life, if my daily life is average.
No. I mean,
yeah, I know what you mean.
you know what I mean.
No, I would say I see it from time to time. For example, at the light show, also at the end there are different languages, or when they say thank you, basically.
True.
And all these kind of small things, or when you watch the Swiss German television, there sometimes is Romansh, or you switch through your channels, then you see also the Swiss channels are in French and Italian. I think that's normal that sometimes you just see them somewhere.
Yeah, it takes a bit of getting used to, doesn't it? But it's pretty nice, I think.
Yeah.
For those who can.
Yeah, I think it's one interesting puzzle of Switzerland. I think also these different culture makes it more interesting because, for example, the Italian part of Switzerland, it's a tiny bit Italian. The French part is a tiny bit more French.
Yeah, definitely.
And so this mixture is quite nice. So you can travel a short ride by train, and then you have almost a feeling of being a bit on holidays.
Yeah, definitely. Just before we recorded this podcast, we posted in our Facebook group, Switzerland for English Speakers, if anybody had any questions about how the language mix works in Switzerland. Yeah. And Heather wrote, thank you very much for writing, Heather. And she said she's just moved to Zurich last week from the UK. So first of all, welcome. Hope it's going okay for you so far. And she said, could we explain when High German, Hochdeutsch, is used versus Swiss German, Schweizerdeutsch? And she said she doesn't really understand when each one is used. Is High German used in formal settings, for example? It's very confusing. Yes, Heather, I agree. And I'm going to put your question to our Swiss German expert in the room.
Great,
over to
thanks.
you.
Well, so in the group, Emma has already replied to her, so that's very nice. Thanks a lot. My 2 cents to this question is High German is our official, for all written things. Swiss German is only
Used in spoken language.
Exactly. And we have not really a grammar or something. So, for example, the newspaper and television and radio quite often, it's in High German. But then if we talk to each other, it's all in Swiss German. So that can be extremely formal. For example, a job interview, that is Swiss German. But something very informal, maybe a joke in a newspaper, can be written in High German. So, yeah. And High German is just what we learn. Also
at school, for example.
So at school, we would also talk quite often High German, almost always. But between friends or schoolmates, obviously not. So speaking, always Swiss German. Writing, almost always High German. The only exception is if you write between friends, for example, on WhatsApp or something, a message, then you will maybe write in Swiss German or, yeah. But there are no rules. That's more like slang.
Cool. Swiss German in a nutshell. I hope that answered your question, Heather.
Yeah, me too. It's
I think that's it,
it's
basically.
not so extremely complicated, but yeah, I'm not sure. There is also one episode where we talk about Swiss German and High German.
Yes,
so maybe you
exactly.
should listen to that as well.
We'll post you a link. If you've got any more questions about how the different languages are used, maybe you want to hear us say something in Romansh, for example, then please write and we'll try and learn something.
Yep. Please
Allegra.
don't.
Allegra.
Ciao, mi scarpinets.
Was that Romansh?
Yes.
I am so impressed. Okay, we can't better that. Let's leave it there.
Bye.
Bye, thanks for listening.